Morning, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. I wanted to come to you this Friday morning with, the usual Friday reads, but also kind of a mishmash of a couple of other items. Gonna talk about Friday reads. What's been going on in life, what I've been reading this week. Gonna look at a couple of wrap-ups for the months of November, December in 2020, and then I have a couple new books to show you. So anyway, like I said, kind of a mishmash video. There we go. So anyway, this week school's been kind of hectic because we're starting to this is the last week of our first semester of school, and so we're doing a lot of finishing touches on grades and getting everything into the grade book and making sure all works in, and trying to wrap up units to make sure we're at a good stopping spot for first semester. And so it's been a little bit chaotic, just a little bit, and because of the COVID shutdown that we had in November, my basketball team, we usually have basketball done before Christmas so that the kids can do wrestling after Christmas. And that's with the middle school anyway. High school goes both, of course. But our middle school, we try to have the basketball season done before. But because of the shutdown, we actually extended our season and picked up a couple extra games for the kids, just so that the season isn't wasted. And so we finished up the season this week, and finished it up on a big note, had a couple of wins, and that was just pretty exciting to see the kids finish out their season like that. It was fun. We had one team we played where they only had enough for one team, and so we did kind of a combined squad and got a big win there. And last night we went and played, and both my 7th and 8th grade teams got big wins. It was a lot of fun, and the girls team played before them, and they got a big win, and so it was nice to end the season on a clean sweep and just a really positive note. I think we had all but one kid score points last night, and so it was real exciting. I was very, very happy with our kids, and my 8th grade squad finished the season undefeated, didn't get beat on the season. Had some close games, but a couple overtime thrillers and couple others that came down to the wire, down to the last minute, but they finished strong and made up for last season. Last season we only had one loss when they were 7th graders, and it was the very last game of the season in the last remaining minutes of the game, and so they were kind of hungry for that undefeated season. So that was a lot of fun to be able to see them finish out the season undefeated. So very happy with that. At school, we're in the American Revolution in my 8th grade group, still in World War II with my 7th grade group, and my 6th grade group's going to be starting a new unit looking at United States and Canada and geography, and then later in the semester they'll be looking at geography of Latin America. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. My high school class just finished up the their medieval test, medieval time period. So we're going to be moving on into the Renaissance, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that next week when we get into second semester. So that's what's going on at school. It's been always coming back from Christmas, you got to get the kids back in gear. So we've had a lot of fun, getting back and going, and the kids are doing well in the classroom. So this week, my reading really didn't change from what it did last week. I've been reading on 2 thick books. The first one, I was reading this one this morning, is American Caesar, Douglas MacArthur, 1880 to 1964 by William Manchester. Excellent book. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I just wish I had more time to read on it. It's kind of a thick one, but it is so good. William Manchester's a good writer. If you guys haven't checked out Manchester, you need to go check him out. His stuff flows very well, and he's just got lots and lots of information in it, and thoroughly enjoying this book. I hope to maybe try to put a dent in it this weekend. That's a goal of mine. The other book that I am reading is The Zealot and the Emancipator, John Brown, Abraham Lincoln, and the Struggle for American Freedom by H.W. Brands. And I'm doing a buddy read on this one, and we've kind of got the book broke into 4 parts so that we can read it over the month. And I've got the first part done. It's basically the first 100 pages, and it's good so far. I want to see, you know, some more development of the story, not just retelling the story, but H.W. Brands is a great storyteller, excellent writer, and I'm starting to enjoy it. The second, you know, the first 50 pages or so was nothing. I wouldn't say it was anything special, but the last 50 pages that I've read it's been picking up and getting better, and I'm learning some stuff on John Brown that I did not know before, and so that's always nice. I've never read a biography on John Brown. He's been in several books that I've read about, but nothing just particularly on him. Now, I haven't read anything new on Lincoln yet because, I mean, I've read a lot on him, so I haven't got anything new on him. The next section, I think, if I remember, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the next section actually starts off with him. So hopefully, we'll see something new on Lincoln, or at least a new way of looking at it. But anyway, I'm enjoying this book so far, and we'll just see where it goes. All right, so that is my Friday reads. I told you that was going to be short and sweet, so I made this into a mishmash so that I'd have, you know, I could just knock out a few things I've been meaning to do. One of those is I told you in my goals for 2021, I want to make sure that I finish off those TBR lists from 2020. Don't just make goals and, you know, not meet your goals. So I have a couple of wrap-ups to do that I have not made videos for. And I finished up, when I finished up In the Eye of the Hurricane, that was the final book on my Nonfiction November TBR. And so I read in November, I read The Witches, Salem, 1692 by Stacy Schiff. Excellent book on the Salem witch trials, if you want to go out and get that. I also did a review on that if you want to go check that out. I read In the Eye of the Hurricane by The Genius of George Washington and the Victory at Yorktown by Nathaniel Philbrick. Recently did a review on that, or a book chat on that. And that was a good book, very heavy emphasis on the battle at sea, more so than the battle on land. I read In the Heart of the Sea by Nathaniel Philbrick. That was a great book. Thoroughly enjoyed that book. I think that's one of Philbrick's best books, and it's the story of the whale ship Essex, and so it's like the true story of Moby Dick. And and it's a shorter one, but he just did an awesome job telling that story. I learned a lot of stuff in that book. I read Einstein, His Life and Universe by Walter Isaacson. I did a buddy read with Book Zealots on that one, and I like the book. A lot of it, honestly, the science, you know, as I said in the review on it, the science is probably over my head, but I did enjoy it. He did a good job trying to break down some pretty complicated science stuff, some physics. And Einstein, there's a lot of stuff I did not know about Einstein, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then just to throw this one in there, it's not nonfiction, but I did read it in November, was Sycamore Row, or I started it anyway. Finished it up, I think, maybe in December. But anyway, got that read, and that was a good book. So that was my stuff for November. And then in December, I read, so this would be my December TBR, my December wrap-up. I read the rest of Sycamore Row, because I kind of plugged along in that through November, and then that first week of December, I really hammered it and got it done. I really liked that book, though. I read George Washington, The Forge of Experience, 1732 to 1775. That was Volume 1 of James Thomas Flexner's series, his 4-part biography on George Washington, and I enjoyed that book. Also did a book chat on that if you want to go check that out. I read The Angel of Bastogne right before Christmas, and I did a book chat on that. I liked that book. It was a good, feel-good Christmas story, probably one I'll revisit next December. I read A Time for Mercy by John Grisham, his newest book, the newest Jake Bridges novel, and excellent book. Have not done a book chat on that one. I'm going to do a book chat on A Time to Kill, Sycamore Row, and A Time for Mercy. All three of the Jake Bridges novels. That is in the works. Hopefully I can get to that this weekend. That's kind of my plan. My wife's wanting me to clean up the books on the desk over here, so I'm going to try to get that done and taken care of. I also read in December in the Hurricane's Eye, The Genius of George Washington and Victory at Yorktown. That's what got my Nonfiction November finally finished off. And then the last book that I read in December, I finished it up at the very beginning of January, was The Last Neanderthal by Claire Cameron. And so those couple months, I got 4, 5, 6 books read each month, and did all right in my reading. So that I hope to continue. I hope to continue getting some stuff done, getting some stuff read, so that I can share. I hope these book chats that I'm doing are I hope those are worth doing. I'm trying to share some stuff. Share the information I got with you on what I read, and hopefully maybe get you guys to pick up those books and give them a try. The last thing in this mishmash that I wanted to show you was the 2 new books that I picked up. The first one came in the mail. It was with my Christmas money. It's a book that I've been wanting since the book came out, and it is Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom by David Blight. And this book, of course, won the Pulitzer Prize. Excellent biography according to everything I have heard. I'll go ahead and read the back to you. Frederick Douglass was the most important African American of the 19th century and one of the most significant writers and orators in American history. Douglass was born a slave and escaped at the age of 20. He was fortunate to have learned to read as a boy, and he would develop this skill forbidden to slaves to become one of the greatest writers of his era, in addition to becoming the most celebrated orator of the abolition movement. Over his lifetime, he wrote 3 versions of his autobiography, all of which are classics of the slave narrative and of American memoir. This former slave met with Lincoln in the White House and rejoiced in the victory of emancipation. He saw the promise of Reconstruction dashed by the resistance of former slaveholders and their allies, and he fought this betrayal as ferociously as he had fought slavery itself. As a lecturer, he likely reached more listeners than any American of his century, and he lived with the modern dilemma of fame like few others of his era. Based in part on papers never seen by previous biographers, Blight's magnificent biography is sure to be the standard of life of Douglass for many years. And this is it was written by David Blight. It says he's a sterling professor of history at Yale University, director of the Gilder Lehrman Center for the Study of Slavery, Resistance, and Abolition at Yale. He's the editor of the annotated editions of 2 Frederick Douglass's autobiographies, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass and My Bondage, My Freedom. He is also the author of A Slave No More, 2 Men Who Escaped to Freedom, including their own narratives of emancipation, and the prize-winning Race and Reunion, The Civil War in American Memory. Got a picture of David Blight on there, see if we can get it. There's David Blight. But I'm real excited to read this book. I'm going to be doing a group read, buddy read, with a few people out there, and I'm excited to see what he has to say about Douglass and what we come up with in our conversation about Douglass. I've read his first autobiography, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, and I did a book chat on that early last year, and we read that every year in my class. I just think it's absolutely awesome. It's only like 120 pages or so, but it is so worth picking up. I have not read the other 2 versions. I have them at school, and they've been on my TBR, and I just haven't got to them, so I do need to get to those. But I'm excited to read Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. And then the other one my wife actually picked up for me. I'd had kind of a bad day at school, and I was kind of bummed out about a few things, and she sent me a text message. I hope you feel better. And of course, it had a picture of the Frederick Douglass book coming in, and that did make me feel better. And she had to run to a neighboring town and went and found another book for me and bought it for me as I guess a get well or feel better present. And it is The Big Sky by A.B. Guthrie Jr. And she bought it purely on the cover. She thought that was a pretty cool cover of the open prairie with the wagon going across going out west. And I have never read A.B. Guthrie Jr. I looked him up, and sounds like A.B. Guthrie is a classic Western novelist. So let me read to you the back of this. It says, originally published more than 50 years ago, The Big Sky is the first of A.B. Guthrie's epic adventure novels of America's vast frontier. The Big Sky introduces Boone, Caudill, Jim Deakins, and Dick Summers, three of the most memorable characters in Western American literature. Traveling the Missouri River from St. Louis to the Rockies, these frontiersmen live as trappers, traders, guides, and explorers. The story centers on Caudill, a young Kentuckian driven by a raging hunger for life and a longing for the blue sky and brown earth of big and wild places. Caught up in the freedom and savagery of the wilderness, Caudill becomes an untamed mountain man whom only the beautiful daughter of a Blackfoot chief dares to love. The Big Sky, Guthrie gives us an unforgettable portrait of a spacious land and a unique way of life. And so, I look forward to reading this and dipping into this. Nice piece of fiction, maybe an escape book. Get me out in the Wild West instead of in what's going on today. So I thank my wife for that, thinking of me. But if you've read either one of these books, let me know what you think of them. What were your thoughts? And leave that down in the comments section. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And so anyway, BookTube, I'll let you go, and I hope everyone's having a great week and looking forward to an awesome weekend and some rest and relaxation. So till next time, BookTube, happy reading.